Chapter 5. I've always wanted to destroy a bridge. You can't drop a bombshell like that, and walked away. I yelled at Randolph, as Randolph walked away. Despite his cane and stiff leg, this guy could really move. He was like an Olympic gold medalist in hobbling. He forged ahead, climbing the sidewalk of the Longfellow Bridge as I jogged after him, the wind screaming in my ears. The morning commuters were coming in from Cambridge. A single line of cars were backed up the length of the span, barely moving. You'd think my uncle and I would be the only ones dumb enough to walk across the bridge in sub-zero weather, but this being Boston, half a dozen runners were chugging along, looking like emaciated seals in their lycra bodysuits. A mom with 2 kids bundled in a stroller was walking on the opposite sidewalk. Her kids looked about as happy as I felt. My uncle was still 15 feet ahead of me. "Randolph," I called, "I'm talking to you." "The drift of the river," he muttered. "The landfill on the banks, allowing for 1,000 years of shifting tidal patterns." "Yo," I caught the sleeve of his cashmere coat. Rewind to the part about a Norse god being my pappy. Randolph scanned our surroundings. We'd stopped at one of the bridge's main towers, a cone of granite rising 50 feet above us. People said the towers looked like giant salt and pepper shakers, but I'd always thought they looked like Daleks from Doctor Who. So I'm a nerd, sue me. And yes, even homeless kids watch TV sometimes. In shelter rec rooms, on public library computers, we have our ways. 100 feet below us, the Charles River glistened steel. It's steel gray. Its surface molded with patches of snow and ice, like the skin of a massive python. Randolph leaned so far over the railing it made me jittery. "The irony," he muttered. "Here, of all places. So anyway," I said, "about my father." Randolph gripped my shoulder. "Look down there, Magnus. What do you see?" I cautiously glanced over the side. "Water?" "No, the carved ornamentation just below us." I looked again. About halfway down the side of the pier, a shelf of granite jutted over the water like a theater seating box with a pointy tip. "It looks like a nose." "No, well, from this angle, it does sort of look like a nose. But it's the prow of a Viking longship, see? The other pier has one too, the poet Longfellow, for whom this bridge was named. He was fascinated by the Norse, wrote poems about their gods, like Eben Horsford. Longfellow believed that the Vikings had explored Boston, hence the designs on the bridge." "You should give tours," I said. "All the rabid Longfellow fans would pay big bucks." "Don't you see," Randolph said. Randolph still had his hand on my shoulder, which wasn't making me any less anxious. "So many people over the centuries have known. They've felt it instinctively, even if they had no proof. The area wasn't just visited by the Vikings, it was sacred to them. Right below us somewhere, near these decorative longships, is the wreck of an actual longship, holding a cargo of incalculable value. I still see water, and I still want to hear about Dad. Magnus, the Norse explorers came here searching for the axis of the worlds, the very trunk of the tree. They found it. A low boom echoed across the river. The bridge shook about a mile away amid the thicket of chimneys and steeples of Black Bay. A column of oily black smoke mushroomed skyward. I steadied myself against the railing. Wasn't that close to your house? Randolph's expression hardened. His stubby beard glistened silver in the sunlight. We're out of time, Magnus. Extend your hand over the water. The sword is down there. Call it. Focus on it as if it's the most important thing in the world, the thing you want the most.
Okay, tell me what you can recall from what you've read from this excerpt of the reading.
Magnus and Randolph, which are the main characters in the chapter, are at Longfellow Bridge in Boston, and they go to the bridge and they start talking about the architecture of the bridge. Well, just Magnus in his head. And then him and his uncle talk about the Norse carvings that are on the pillars by the river, and the longship that might be in the river. And they talk about how it's a connection to the Norse who explored Boston. And then there's an explosion by Randall's house, and he tells Magnus to summon a magic sword from the wreckage in the river.
What is the main idea of what you've read so far?
Magnus and Randolph go to Longfellow Bridge and try to get the sword from the wreckage in the river.
Whose point of view is the story told from?
It's told in Magnus's point of view.
Would you say it's first person or third person?
It's first person.
How do you know it's first person?
Because he uses his I, and it only talks about him and his inner thoughts and his inner narration. It doesn't talk about anyone else's.
Would you say it's first person subjective or first person objective?
I think it would be first person subjective.
Why do you know? How do you know?
Because it has like his emotions and his views on the people, and it's more focused on him, not just him emotionally, not just him going through things.
How is this helping to the development of the plot in the overall story so far?
It kind of sets everything off because this is when they find the sword, and the book is the Sword of Summer, so this is what sets everything into motion.
Are you enjoying the reading so far?
Yes.
Are you anxious to continue reading this chapter?
Yes.
Should I let you get back to it?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for your participation.
You're welcome.